The average net worth of an NFL owner in 2025 is $10.6 billion, with the richest owners being the Walton Penner Group with a net worth of $77.4 billion. Not only did most of these owners come into the NFL with their own fortunes, but they continue to make massive returns from owning their respective teams. In 2025, the 32 NFL franchises split $13.8 billion from the national media deal, along with revenue generated from league-wide sponsorships, licensing deals, and 34% of gate receipts. This meant that each franchise received $432.6 million from the NFL without having to do a thing. And that number doesn't even include the revenue that each individual franchise brings in on their own, which in 2024 was an average of $687 million, a 7.3% increase from the previous year. The NFL is a money-making machine, and NFL owners are the ones reaping those benefits year in and year out. Besides a dip during the COVID-impacted 2020 season, NFL revenue has steadily grown year over year, with this trend likely to continue into the foreseeable future. But most of this comes at the expense of the average fan. It costs an NFL fan $750 in subscriptions a year to watch every single NFL game, as by the time the 18-week regular season is over, games will have aired on 9 different channels and streaming platforms. And prices are getting out of hand to attend games in person, with the average cost of a family of 4 to attend an NFL game coming in at $777.89, which includes tickets, parking, 4 hot dogs, 2 sodas, and 2 beers. But that price of course varies by team, with the average cost of a family of 4 attending a Lions home game coming in at a whopping $1,898.02. The business of sports is to convert fan loyalty into dollars. And some of these things we just have to accept as fans, like when team success and popularity grows, which causes greater demand, or overall inflation affecting pricing. But there are certain times when these organizations simply take advantage of fan loyalty. And I think one of the biggest culprits of this are personal seat licenses. Personal seat licenses, or PSLs, are paid licenses that give the holder the right to buy season tickets for a certain seat in a team stadium. And let me just repeat that one more time. A PSL is something that you need to purchase in order to have the right to purchase a season ticket. There are 21 teams that require some version of a personal seat license in order to be a season ticket holder, and the latest team to implement this pricing mechanism is the Buffalo Bills. The personal seat licenses to secure a season ticket for New Highmark Stadium cost anywhere between $1,000 and $50,000 depending on the seat. That of course doesn't include the price of the season tickets themselves, which entering the 2025 season were raised by 12%, with general admissions packages averaging at $1,283 and club packages averaging $3,309. These prices were for the final season at the old Highmark Stadium, so one can only and confidently imagine that the season ticket prices for New Highmark Stadium will be much, much higher. And on top of all of that, as a PSL holder, you must purchase and renew season tickets each year, or else your PSL will be forfeited and sold to someone else. The origin of the personal seat license in the NFL stems back to the Carolina Panthers for what was then known as Ericsson Stadium. These licenses were originally seen as a way to have fans help finance a new stadium build, with the Panthers selling personal seat licenses, which ultimately generated $90 million for Panthers ownership. The city of Charlotte contributed $60 million for the construction of roads, parking garages, practice fields, and landscaping, and the rest was privately financed by ownership and corporate partners. So in this specific instance, the use of PSLs seems admissible, as fans felt as though they were investing into their city's new franchise and played a part in bringing the team into their city. Then in the mid to late 90s, there were 3 more franchises that utilized PSLs when building new stadiums, which were the St. Louis Rams, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Cleveland Browns. Again, these franchises would pose these licenses as a way to invest into your favorite franchise. And I mean, that's why these NFL teams employ hundreds of folks as ticket sales reps to likely convince you and make you feel that you're actually investing into your favorite teams. Then things went up a notch when Jerry Jones and the Cowboys built AT&T Stadium, where the PSLs ranged in price from $16,000 all the way up to $150,000. PSL prices went down with the construction of MetLife Stadium, where these licenses were sold for anywhere between $1,000 and $20,000. The 49ers did a name change, calling them Stadium Builders licenses, and charged fans between $2,000 and $80,000 per seat. Then with the construction of Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, The Falcons priced those PSLs up to $45,000. What a deal. Then for SoFi Stadium, the PSLs, called stadium seat licenses, range in price from $1,000 to $200,000 per seat, with season tickets ranging from $720 to just over $4,000. The purchase of a Rams PSL gives fans the right to purchase season and playoff tickets to Rams games through the year 2068. And following 2068, quote, "It is the intent that the owner of the PSL deposit at that time will receive a dollar-for-dollar return of all PSL deposit monies paid." But here's the thing. SoFi Stadium was 100% privately funded by Rams ownership and built entirely without the use of taxpayer money. So sure, even though their PSL costs are ridiculous, it feels more acceptable in this instance that they would want to accrue some of that money back using these one-time licenses. On the other hand, for the construction of the $1.4 billion new Highmark Stadium, just over 60% of the stadium costs is to be paid by New York taxpayers at $850 million, while only $350 million of the stadium cost is being paid by Bills ownership. The cost of the stadium rose to $2.1 billion as of November 15, 2024, with the Pegulas responsible for the extra $560 million. Good. So for a man that has a net worth of $9.3 billion to have originally chipped in only 25% of the cost of his new stadium is absurd. Then to have the gall to charge lifelong Bills fans anywhere between $1,000 and $50,000 for the right to purchase season tickets is really just a slap in the face. And you can miss me with any claim and all claims of a boost in economic activity from the new stadium and more jobs, because history has proven time and time again, taxpayer-funded stadiums fail to generate new tax revenue and are not worth public investment. There is no excuse for the Pegulas. Buffalo, New York has one of the lower median household income figures along with one of the higher unemployment rates of all NFL markets. In 2021, there were reports that the Bills would consider moving the team to Texas if they didn't receive the public funds they desired for the construction of their new stadium. And let me just reemphasize, Terry Pegula has a net worth of $9.3 billion. There's also Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Cleveland Browns, who boasts a net worth of $8.7 billion. The Browns recently reached a deal with the city of Cleveland to move the Browns into a brand new dome stadium in Brook Park, a suburb outside of Cleveland. In a timeline filled with lawsuits and $100 million spent just to get out of their current stadium deal, the Browns will have a shiny new $2.4 billion stadium ready to play in by 2029. The state of Ohio is providing $600 million in public funding, with Ohio Governor Mike DeWine saying that, quote, "This is a win for taxpayers, and it will provide significant money to things that improve the quality of life in Ohio." So what do Browns fans get greeted with as far as PSLs go for their new stadium? The lowest PSL cost is $500, which is for upper-level corner seating. Then for the best seats in the main bowl, it climbs up to $7,500, and the price goes all the way up to $149,000 for the best seats in the house. These prices might not seem that crazy, besides the last one, compared to the other PSLs we've covered, but it's crazy to see the price increases that Browns fans are taking on. According to this Twitter user, their PSL and season ticket cost for 6 tickets went from $24,600 all the way up to $131,000 with this new stadium. And this reply sums it up perfectly. The absolute gall to put out a shit product on the field and then ask your most loyal fans to fork up more than 5 times the price to watch their favorite team is crazy. But we honestly shouldn't be surprised. NFL owners have shown us time and time again that loyalty only goes in one direction. I myself had never been subjected to relocation of one of my favorite teams, but I can only imagine how devastating it might feel to have your team stripped away from your home market and taken to a brand new city. The Chargers, Raiders, and Rams are the 3 latest teams to relocate, and all 3 of these instances have been for the exact same reason: money. The Chargers relocated back to LA after owner Dean Spanos was told no on his request for a large public subsidy on a new stadium built in San Diego. So after telling fans in 2016 that, quote, "We're committed this year and we are going to give it 100% effort to get a new stadium done here," almost exactly a year later, the Chargers announced that they'd be leaving for Los Angeles, with Spanos having to pay a $645 million relocation fee. The Rams share a similar story, with owner Stan Kroenke wanting a state-of-the-art stadium and more exposure in America's second largest city. The city of St. Louis tried to lure Kroenke and the Rams to stay in their city with a $1.1 billion stadium plan of their own, but construction for SoFi Stadium proceeded on December 21st, 2015. On top of building the most expensive NFL stadium, Stan Kroenke also had to pay a $645 million relocation fee, along with $571 million paid in a settlement with the city of St. Louis. And the Raiders are the most recent team to relocate. The Oakland Coliseum was in terrible shape, so the Raiders were welcomed into Vegas with a brand new $1.9 billion stadium with a record-setting $750 million in public subsidy. The Raiders were also on the hook for a smaller relocation fee of $378 million. So that means 3 ownership groups had to pay a total of $2.2 billion just in fees related to relocation. Each of these 3 moves were ownership-focused moves, not fan-focused. So I will never side with an owner saying that they didn't have the requisite funding from the city when trying to build a new stadium, when these owners are literally paying hundreds of millions of dollars just to leave. Football is headed down a dangerous path that ultimately benefits the owners more than it could ever benefit the common fan. Private equity groups are now able to own up to 10% of an NFL franchise, and repeat it with me, private equity ruins everything. These firms always prioritize profit over people in every single industry they touch. NFL franchises are growing in value year over year, with 11 teams now valued at $8 billion or more. So these firms understand that there's a lot of money to be made here. In good times, fans will watch the NFL. In bad times, fans will watch the NFL. Sports in general are recession-resistant businesses, with Arctos Partners, a sports-focused private equity firm, saying that, quote, sports franchises' defensive nature, long-term contracts, and loyal fan demand make them resilient, low-volatility investments. The average age of an NFL owner is 72 years old, and I'm assuming that most of them are going to want to cash out at some point in time, and these PE firms will be right there to get their greasy little fingers all over our favorite teams. So I can only imagine that this 10% ownership cap will turn into 15%, then to 20%, and on, because if you give the NFL an inch, they'll take a mile. First, it'll be more expensive ticket prices. Then there will be more games overseas. Then there will be even more price gouging in the stadium, and on. These owners know that many of us won't change or drop allegiance to our teams no matter the circumstances. So of course they'll use that against us to increase their bottom lines. The new Bills stadium is smaller than their old one. This is because the Bills will offer more premium seating in their new stadium, which comes in at a way higher sticker price than general seating and will ultimately make them more money. But this is a league-wide trend we're seeing. All of the stadiums that are currently being built will eventually be towards the bottom of the league in terms of total capacity. And this increase in premium accommodations over general seating across the entire league is something that is being encouraged by the NFL. A league-wide rule change in late 2024 states that, quote, for suites, teams get to keep 100% of the premium revenue. That is, the price difference between the suite ticket and what it would cost without any of the suite trappings. This is a change from the long-standing league policy stated that teams must share 34% of revenue generated by ticket sales with the visiting team for each game. This rule change was implemented to counter the original rule, which was thought to encourage, quote, teams to hold down the price of general admission seats so they wouldn't have to share as much revenue with the visiting team. So where does this leave us? Sports fans are getting nickel and dimed whether we watch the games at home or we watch them in person. Owners know that we won't boycott our teams when decisions are made that we don't agree with, so they can really do whatever they want without needing to think about fan ramifications. And then when teams want to relocate somewhere nice and shiny, the NFL won't even reinforce their own bylaws that are supposed to, quote, require teams to make good faith efforts to remain in their markets. As a 2022 legal filing from the NFL argues that, quote, teams have no responsibility to negotiate in good faith, and relocation bylaws can essentially be ignored. Owners will always try to put the blame on someone else, the city, the county, and even the fans. I share no sympathy for billionaires. If you want to build a new stadium, build it yourself. And if you can't, sell the team to someone else who will keep the team in the city it belongs in. And look at the Packers. No one owner, technically owned by the fans, and represented by a voted on board of directors that make decisions for the franchise. Without this ownership style, I bet the Packers would have been long gone out of Green Bay if it were up to some money-hungry owner calling the shots. Owners are just something that we have to deal with as football fans. And the NFL doesn't allow any team outside of Green Bay to be publicly owned, as they require over 33% to be owned by a singular owner or ownership group. So we as fans can only hope and pray that we don't get completely priced out for some corporate sponsor, and that watching football on TV doesn't require a mortgage. But who am I kidding? I mean, these are billionaires we're talking about.